You can see on the chart that saved my life, one of the greatest charts I've ever seen. You know the chart. Oh, there it is. That's pretty good. Wow. Last time I put up that chart, I never really got to look at it. But without that chart, I would not be here today.
Wow. It's really true. Welcome back to the Megyn Kelly Show. Matt Welch and Kmele Foster of the Fifth Column podcast are with me. That was a great moment. I mean, that seemed like a genuine ad lib by Trump, who's, of course, got a good sense of humor and made everybody laugh, and also a solemn moment. And he's right. Without that chart, he wouldn't be here. And we talked about how he repeatedly referenced God. And he was raised going, as he pointed out, to listen to Billy Graham and going to listen to Norman Vincent Peale, The Power of Positive Thinking. So there's no question Trump had religious thought and the belief in God repeated to him and, introduced into his life repeatedly when he was in his formative years. I don't know exactly what his religious commitment is, but I know at least what I said. And then you get this little lecture from, forgive me, those bitches over at The View. Like, they can't, he almost died like 5 days ago. And this is where they went with, in response to that comment.
I'm a Christian girl. When something like this happens to you, like this assassination attempt, and you say something like God was watching me, that is a very unchristian thing to say because it's very narcissistic. What about Corey? What's his name?
What church is she going to?
Corey, the fireman who also got killed.
I don't know. I think some Christians.
What about all those guys who got killed on Sandy Hook? All of those people. Yeah. It's like, oh, God was watching me and not watching them. There's something very disturbing.
That's not what he said.
I should have pulled the plug on that mic yesterday.
That's obnoxious. I don't know what church she goes to. That is how people of faith talk, and the intimation is never he was looking out for me, but not those monsters. Right. It's no, he was looking out for me. It was divine providence. We don't know why he showed his grace on me, and in another instance, this tragic death. But it's clear he did, and I want to make something of it. I want to do something good with it. That is a completely normal, insane thing for someone to say. It's totally consistent with what I hear Christians in my life say all the time. And I just can't. I have to imagine it's just kind of partisan, kind of mind warping that makes it impossible for them to acknowledge what is like plainly obvious to anyone who thinks about this for a couple of minutes. That's kind of like Whoopi Goldberg insisting that she would love to have Jill Biden perform surgery on her because she's such a great doctor. It's just, I don't think Joy doesn't mean that at all.
She doesn't get it at all. And it's like, you can understand, it's not, oh, God cared about Trump, but not Corey Compatore. It's
ridiculous.
I think most Christians believe God had other plans for Corey. God called Corey home and had a different mission for him. And those of us who are left behind to grieve the one we love struggle with that and feel sadness over that and wish it were different. And sometimes it does question you. It causes you to question your faith and your belief. Sure. But most of us get to the place where we reconcile, and we as mere mortals don't understand the plan, as you just said, Kmele. But we don't think it's narcissistic to say, thank you, God, for saving me. I believe I, too, was part of your plan. It's so warped the way she thinks about this issue. But I do think it's linked, her reaction to that is linked to what you guys mentioned before the break, which is the way the Democrats reacted when Robert Hur pointed out well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. Like, they're so blinded by their hatred for Trump and their need for Biden to beat him that every piece of information is processed through that lens, and therefore truth is totally erased. And their zeal to get others to see how bad Trump is. He's godless, right? And Biden is the second coming, on the other hand, manifests virtually every day and week in the news. Today's edition not only comes from the ladies of The View. I'll get your reaction on this, Matt. But from George Conway, who is, I don't know if he's still a Republican. He was a very well-known Republican, but then he's, part of the Lincoln Project Never Trumpers. And he is convinced that, I guess, he doesn't think the Lincoln Project advertising was quite on point. which, by the way, they're calling Trump Hitler, even post-assassination. That came out this week. So he's decided to launch a different kind of attack on Trump, even though we were told by MSNBC and CNN and everybody else that Robert Hur was in the wrong because you can't diagnose somebody. It's wrong to talk about mental state unless you have a doctor who can diagnose. And Robert Hur can't say poor memory because that's like playing doctor on TV. I give you George Conway's latest effort to stop Trump.
Not simply eccentric or odd in a good way. He's unwell, mentally unwell, in a dangerous way. He is indeed a pathological narcissist on a level we have never before seen. He's a malignant narcissist who is also a sociopath or psychopath. What too many people are afraid of talking about mental health issues, particularly Donald Trump's. Pathological lying.
It's a rigged election. It's the only way we're going to lose.
His misogyny.
Grab him by the pussy.
His racism.
You had very fine people.
News will not replace us!
On both sides.
His authoritarianism, his endless quests for vengeance, his love for dictators. It may even explain his recent praise of Hannibal Lecter. All this is why I'm pleased to announce the formation of the Anti-Psychopath Political Action Committee, or Anti-psychopath PAC for short.
Wait, just part two. He went on Morning Joe, the place that told us we don't make medical diagnoses on TV. It's wrong, Robert Hur. Wrong. To say poor memory. When did you get your MD? And what did he do? Well, look for yourselves.
And once I started reading about personality disorders, in particular narcissistic personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder, pathological narcissism and sociopathy, everything became clear. We want to level the playing field on the mental states of the two candidates. Both of them are old. Both of them misstate words. These are the DSM-5 criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. But here's the real issue. He is also a sociopath. This isn't hard. You don't have to be a shrink. Impulsivity, irritability and aggressiveness.
Trust me, I'm not a shrink. I don't know.
He raped a woman. He's found by a jury to rape a woman. And that's what we're seeing. And I think he's had an advantage over these last couple of years that people have been seeing him.
Wow. People just haven't been told by the absolute principle-less political hitmen at the Lincoln Project. They haven't really just been told that Donald Trump is a sociopath. Thank you for this new
or narcissist.
They were bringing out this DSM chart in 2016. I remember it, 2015 maybe even, but certainly by 2016 as well. And it's pretty interesting. Whenever I see a new super PAC splintering from an old, one wonders what's happening behind the scenes in the game for generational wealth, which if anyone who's seen the just gag-inducing documentary about the Lincoln Project, where they had cameras embedded with them, they're just fascinated by the opportunity by getting everyone's sort of like sense of Trump hatred converted into a donation right now, that they can create, Rick Wilson and others, a generational wealth for themselves and their families. I thought when seeing their Hitler ad earlier this week, you're coming out with a Hitler ad after Trump has been shot in the ear, okay, if you're making this Hitler ad, you are actually almost telegraphing your wish to be in the opposition. You think that generational wealth is better earned by striking up the resistance again, right? Because when there's resistance 2.0, there's going to be people who are going to be all inflamed and ready to convert.
What are you saying? You're saying that they would like to see Trump win so that they can be in the paid opposition, jumping up and down about him?
Makes me wonder about that as a possibility. Yes, Megyn, that was the feeling that I had, because if you were actually serious about the Hitler analogy, I just don't remember a lot of generational wealth being generated by Hitler's opposition, right? Hitler's opposition died. That's what happened to them. So if you're just doing that now, again, after the assassination, after there's been at least a moment of people going, okay, maybe we're kind of going too far with some of these analogies. And they're like, no, that analogy is awesome. At a time when, Joe Biden hasn't been ahead of a single poll at any time, really, in 2024. Harry Ensign at CNN pointed that out. At this point in the race, 4 years ago, Trump had never been ahead. At this point now, even before the terrible debate, Biden has never been ahead. If you're like doubling down on that right now, what does that say about your sense of strategy? It says to me that you're more interested in raising money. So you're going to go and advertise this crap,
and
this George Conway crap on the MSNBC and Morning Joe. It's terrible.
That group did raise a lot of money, Lincoln Project. I don't know how their fundraising is now. Can I point this out, Kmele, before we go to break?
Yeah.
Trump, he probably is a narcissist. I think you have to be a narcissist to run for president. I really do. I just don't think like the average person thinks that they can do it, and maybe they can't.
Yeah.
But that's rich, okay? Speaking of Invesco Field and Barack Obama in 2008, literally with the Greek columns. It was like a coronation. Everyone mocked it because it was so grand and over the top. Sure, being a little in love with your own thoughts and voice. That's just a Trump thing, you see. If you weren't following the news, a massive hit to the US dollar just came in June when Saudi Arabia did not renew its 50-year petrodollar deal with the US. Since 1974, Saudi Arabia has sold oil exclusively in US dollars. And that was huge to our global economic dominance. Now they want options other than the dollar. So ask yourself, if there's less demand for the dollar, what happens next? Look, it's reasons like this that Americans are looking at Birch Gold Group. For over 20 years, Birch Gold has helped tens of thousands of Americans protect their savings by converting an IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. To learn more, text the word MK to 989898 and claim your free, no obligation info kit on gold. That's MK to the number 989898. Birch Gold has earned the trust of so many with their education-first approach, their thousands of happy customers, and many 5-star reviews. Consider protecting your savings with gold before the dollar plunges any further. Text MK to 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.